All right, get ready, because we're going deep today. Diving into a part of Star Trek that sometimes gets forgotten, Star Trek, the animated series. You might think you know Star Trek, but the animated series, it adds a whole new dimension.
It does. It really does. It's like, you know, taking everything we love about the original series, the crew, the Enterprise, the mission of exploration, but then with animation, suddenly there are no limits. Like things they could never pull off on a live-action budget in the 70s. Animation made it all possible.
Okay, now I'm really curious. So we're talking about stories that could only be told in animation,
Yeah,
expanding the Star Trek universe in ways they couldn't before.
exactly. And right from the start, you've got most of the original cast back voicing their characters, which for fans of the original series, that was huge.
Yeah, I bet. That familiar feeling right from the start. But I've heard there was one crew member missing.
You're right, good catch. Walter Koenig, who played Chekhov, he wasn't part of the animated cast. Budget reasons, they say. But here's the thing, and this is pretty amazing. Leonard Nimoy, Spock himself, he really pushed to make sure George Takei and Nichelle Nichols were included. Sulu and Uhura, I mean. He insisted on it, actually.
Wow, that says a lot
Right.
about Nimoy, his commitment to the values that Star Trek always stood for. Diversity, representation, it's all there.
It really is, and that carries through the whole series. One thing that really stands out about the animated series is how they use the freedom of animation to create some, well, truly alien crew members. You've got Erex, the Edojan navigator, 3 arms, 3 legs, try doing that with 70s special effects, and then Emress, the Canadian communications officer, basically a humanoid cat, right?
That's so cool. I mean, it makes total sense, right? Animation just opens up so many possibilities. Suddenly, you don't have to worry about clunky prosthetics or anything. Just pure imagination going wild.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about how these new characters looked. The animated series actually introduced some concepts that later became, well, really important parts of Star Trek.
Oh, like what? Give me an example.
Okay, well, think about the next generation and the holodeck.
Right.
How they use it to create, like, realistic simulations for training or just for fun. Well, the very first version of that technology, it actually showed up in the animated series. They called it the Rec Room, but same idea.
Wait, are you serious? The animated series had the holodeck first. I had no idea.
It's true. It just goes to show how they were using animation to like experiment with ideas that would have been way too ambitious or way too expensive for live action at the time.
That's incredible. It seems like the animated series was really ahead of its time in a lot of ways. And, talking about being ahead of the curve, the writing for the animated series is another area where things get really interesting.
It is. And get this, there was a Writers Guild strike going on at the time. And believe it or not, that actually ended up benefiting the show. Because the strike didn't affect animation, the animated series was able to bring in some serious, talented science fiction writers.
Hold on, so a strike actually helped the show. How does that even work?
Well, with all these live-action productions shut down, some big names in sci-fi writing, they suddenly had time on their hands, and one of them was David Gerrold, the guy who wrote The Trouble with Tribbles, the classic episode from the original series.
No way. David Gerrold wrote for the animated series. So does that mean more Tribbles?
You bet. He wrote a sequel episode called More Troubles, and let me tell you, these Tribbles, they were something else. Genetically modified to grow like crazy huge. And to deal with them, they introduce a new creature, a tribble predator called a glommer.
Giant Tribbles and a Tribble predator.
Yeah.
That's so wild. Sounds terrifying and hilarious all at the same time.
Exactly. And the fact that Gerald was so into coming back to the Tribbles, I mean, it says something, right, about the creative possibilities he saw in the animated series. It wasn't just some, like, quick cash in. It was a chance to tell new, compelling stories in the Star Trek universe.
That makes a lot of sense. Having someone like Gerald involved, it definitely makes you take the series more seriously. Shows they were serious about quality.
For sure. And he wasn't the only one. DC Fontana, another writer from the original series, she wrote an episode that dives into Spock's past. It's a time travel story, takes Spock back to his childhood on Vulcan.
A Spock backstory episode. That's got to be a treasure trove for fans of the character.
Mhm.
What kind of stuff do we learn about young Spock?
We see him struggling with, being half human, half Vulcan. His relationship with his parents, it's complicated. And get this, we even learned his middle name.
Okay, you can't just drop that and not tell me. What is Spock's middle name?
Tiberius.
Tiberius. Wow, I never would have guessed. It's definitely going to get the fans talking.
It definitely is. It's one of those little details that makes the animated series so fun. And, even if some people debate whether it's canon or not, there's no question it's had a real impact on Star Trek.
Yeah, canonicity, that's a whole other discussion, right?
Yeah.
And one that always gets Star Trek fans fired up.
You said it. Whether the animated series is officially part of Star Trek canon, that's been debated for years.
I can imagine. So is it canon or not? What's the answer?
Well, it's complicated.
I bet it is. But before we get into all that, let's take a quick pause. For everyone listening, what stood out to you so far about the animated series? We'll be right back to keep exploring.
One thing that I find really cool is how the animated series, it really uses animation to its advantage, especially when it comes to like showing alien worlds, alien cultures. This sheer variety of alien life forms they came up with, it's amazing. It's like they just said, okay, let's go crazy. Let's see what we can create.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like animation gave them this whole new canvas to work with. Really let them explore the visual side of Star Trek in a way they never could before.
Totally. And I think it had a big influence, on the amazing special effects and alien designs we see in the later Star Trek series.
Now that you mention it, I'm starting to remember some of those crazy aliens from the animated series. Really out there stuff. And it wasn't just about the visuals, right?
Yeah.
They weren't afraid to tackle some pretty complex themes, too.
Absolutely. The animated series, it didn't shy away from mature subjects at all. You see episodes dealing with slavery, religious fanaticism, genetic manipulation, things you wouldn't normally expect in a Saturday morning cartoon.
I know, right? That's what's so great about the animated series. It breaks that stereotype that animation is just for kids. It shows that animation can be this powerful way to tell stories that are sophisticated, that deal with real-world issues.
Exactly, and I think that's a big part of its legacy. The animated series, it helped pave the way for more mature, more thought-provoking animated shows. Not just sci-fi, but all kinds of animation.
So it wasn't just pushing boundaries within Star Trek. It was pushing boundaries for animation as a whole. And I think that's pretty amazing.
Totally agree. And let's not forget the humor, too. The animated series had this really playful side that sometimes gets overlooked.
Oh, absolutely. Some of the banter between the crew members is hilarious. I always loved it when Spock gets thrown off by something totally absurd, something illogical.
Yes. Those moments of humor, they remind us that these characters, even Spock, the emotionless Vulcan, they're still relatable, they're still human.
Well, maybe not literally human in Spock's case, but you know what I mean.
Right, of course. But speaking of humanity, the voice acting in the animated series, it's seriously good. The whole cast is great. But Shatner as Kirk, I mean, come on, it's iconic.
Oh, yeah, it's perfect. That voice, those pauses, so dramatic. It's pure Kirk, even in animated form. It's like he was meant to voice a cartoon space captain.
You're so right. And it's not just Shatner. The whole cast really brings their characters to life. You can tell they cared about making the animated series something special, something worthy of the original.
And that passion, it comes through in every episode. It really shows the power of Star Trek, how it connects with people, how it inspires them. Whether it's live action or animation, it's still Star Trek.
Very well said. The animated series, it's a great reminder that Star Trek is more than just a TV show. It's this whole universe of ideas, a place where imagination can run wild. It's inspired generations of fans.
That's a great way to put it. And you know what? I think this is a good spot to take a quick break. Before we wrap things up and talk about the animated series legacy, I want to hear from you, our listeners. What do you think about the animated series? What parts of it have really stuck with you? We'll be back in a moment to continue our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive into Star Trek, the animated series. We left off talking about what makes this series so special, what makes it stand out.
Yeah, it's been fun to hear what people are saying, what they remember, what they love about the animated series. For some people, it's those little details like Spock's middle name. For others, it's the big picture stuff, how the animated series really took Star Trek in new directions.
Right, and that's what's so cool about it, isn't it? There's something for everyone. You want humor. It's there. Action, definitely. Thought-provoking stories.
Yeah.
And of course, you get all those classic Star Trek characters we know and love.
Exactly. It's got that classic Star Trek feel, but it's also not afraid to try new things, to go places the live-action shows couldn't.
And speaking of going new places, let's get back to that question we left hanging before the break. Canonicity. Does the animated series count as part of the official Star Trek timeline?
Yes, the canon debate. It's a question that's been around for years. I mean, what does it even mean for something to be canon in Star Trek? It's about what's officially part of the Star Trek universe, the timeline, all that. And for a while, it wasn't clear where the animated series fit in.
So what's the verdict? Is it canon or not?
Well, it's tricky. There are definitely parts of the animated series that, haven't really been acknowledged by later Star Trek shows. Certain characters, certain storylines, they kind of fall by the wayside.
I see. So it's not a simple yes or no answer then.
Not really, but here's the thing. Even if some details from the animated series aren't considered like strictly canonical, its influence is definitely there. You can see it in later series and little references, design choices, even in the themes they explore. It all goes back to the animated series in some way.
So even if it's not officially part of that timeline, its impact is still felt.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, maybe the whole question of canon isn't even that important. What really matters is how the animated series connected with people, how it added to the spirit of Star Trek, how it inspired fans.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's about the stories, the characters, the ideas that stay with us. Whether it's officially canon or not, the animated series showed us what Star Trek could be, and that's pretty amazing.
Well said. It reminds us that Star Trek can work in any format, really. Live action, animation, books, comics, whatever. As long as it's got those core elements, the great stories, the compelling characters, the thought-provoking ideas, that's what makes it Star Trek.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into Star Trek, the animated series. It's been a blast revisiting this often overlooked corner of the Star Trek universe.
It really has. It's been a pleasure to talk about these classic episodes and to see how they've shaped the franchise we love.
And as we say goodbye to the animated series, I'd like to leave you with this. Imagine, just imagine, if the animated series had continued for another few seasons. What other incredible stories might they have told? What strange new worlds might we have seen? It's something to think about as you continue your own journey through the vast and ever-expanding world of Star Trek. Live long and prosper.